It is Ecovillages are about connection, about how we are gratitude towards life, and we want to create something back for the earth. Daring, interesting word, courageous too, right? And yeah, welcoming, healing, and everything. So really happy to hear and see how everyone connects with different way to connect. So yeah, before we go on to today's main agenda to hear the sharing of from the EVIST project, um, I'd like to pass on to Ken from Genoa to share about some updates that are going on in the Genoa region. So over to you, Ken.
Thanks, Luvian, and hi everyone. I am Keen calling from Vietnam and the network coordinator of GENOA, the Global Ecovillage Network Oceania and Asia. I've known quite a number of people in this Zoom, and I'm so glad to see you here. I'm so very, very glad to see many new friends. Um, I just want to take this opportunity to share with you some of the very exciting projects and activities going on in the network globally and also in Asia and Oceania, because this is a part of our quarterly community call in the region. So share my screen. And after this part, we'll be hearing from the EVIST project with measuring the impact of ecovillages in their regions. First, I would love to share with you that some of you might know that Jan is having a project called Ecovillage Resilience, running with 20 ecovillages around the world. 4 of them are from our region. And a good news is that there's a new project, a continuation of this is coming, which is called Keystone Communities, Sustaining Life Through Polycrisis. And with with this project, we'll be working even more closely with communities on the ground to scale, amplify their impact, to build capacity, and also build resilience through arts and culture. And you'll be hearing more from Jen on this new project because we really want to involve more and more communities into the project. So that's the first exciting news. Secondly, you might know that Jen has been doing a lot of Ecovillage design education course, and the upcoming online one will be in April. And later on, we'll drop some links in the chat so that you'll see more. And with an online Ecovillage, Ecovillage education course, you'll have a chance to learn with many different trainers, speakers from around the world. In this Zoom, you already have a few of them actually. And at the same time, we also have a few in-person EDEs coming up in the region in India, in Thailand, and in Indonesia this year. But the details of these in-person EDEs will be sent to you once they are finalized. And next, also on the line of education, we have this regenerative education in project in Jan that is gonna launch an online training for practitioners on March the 6th. It has 12 online sessions every week, weekly, so after 12 weeks. And this focus on how we can support young people to step into their roles of reshaping a regenerative future, both inside and outside of the classroom. So if you are interested or if you know any young people who are interested, you can sign up for this training, this online training, which will also drop the links in the chat. So those were the updates from the international network of GEN. Next, we go to the regional updates. And this one in particular, it's a collaboration project between 3 regions in GEN, Latin America, Africa, and Asia. We have a project called From Ubuntu to Kapwa, which focus on developing a deep design approach to conscious food systems at edges. And with this project, we're gonna have actually a launching event, a blessing ceremony with wisdom keepers from Colombia, Philippines, and Cameroon tomorrow. And it's gonna be at 6 p.m. my time, UTC +7, but you can also check out the time in your time zone. And we hope that you'll be able to join us in this launch to altogether bless the project and also share, exchange, and keep in touch. This project's gonna launch its pilot phase until March, and then afterwards we'll hopefully will by at that time have a curriculum that's ready to share with the whole network. Next is also an exciting news from us, GENOA, is that our healing circles are back this year, 2024. We're gonna have the Healers Ecovillage every month on the third Saturday of the month. And it's gonna be broken into 3 different cycles of 4 months each. The first cycle will run from January to April. You can see the dates on the screen, and we'll also drop the link in the chat. The cycle is run by Amina, who's also in this Zoom, and Ling from Vietnam, who's not here, but she's here in spirit. And we really hope to meet you monthly so that we can build the inner resilience and transformative journeys together. Next is a collaboration that is being brewed in GENOA with an organization called Social BNB. And this particular news, I think it will be very helpful for communities that are interested in developing your ecotourism aspect, because Social BNB connects travelers with impactful social and eco projects from around the world. And that's why they want to collaborate with us, connect with communities, Ecovillage on the ground that are doing good and want to receive more guests or travelers. And this is an example of Gayashram, who's also a member in GENOA on the platform. And we drop also for some information about them in the chat, so you can check it out. And if you're interested, you can also reach out to us to ask more information. And I'm also approaching the last slides. We really want to encourage a lot of collaboration this year as we start in 2024. So if anyone want to support our team as the volunteers, you're very welcome. And at the same time, we also want to co-create with you the experience of GENOA in 2024 in both online, but also in-person gatherings, events, projects. So we really hope for you to reach out to us whenever you have an ideas, you have a proposal that you want to extend to the whole region. And at the same time, we also would love to feature your stories, your experience, and share it with the whole network of Oceania and Asia, and with the global network as well. So if you want to share anything, it could be a practice, it could be an inspiring story, it could also be an upcoming event that you are hosting and you want to invite people. Just reach out to us at the email on the screen, genoa@ecovillage.org. And we have a newsletter coming out early February. So if you want your story to be featured on the newsletter, then we would hope to receive it by January 25th. That's about it for all of my updates from Jan and GENOA. It was really quick, but we'll drop all of the links in the chat so you can follow up. And you'll feel free to ask questions in the chat as well, and I'll address to them. And now we're gonna come into the main part, the highlight of our call today is to hear from our friends in the EVIST project about their results in measuring the impact of ecovillages in their regions. And they'll do a comparison between global north and south, which will be very exciting. So with that, I'll stop my screen share and pass to Nadine.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Kin, and thanks a lot, Luvin, also for the invitation. We're very happy and grateful that we have this opportunity to talk to Ecovillages from GENOA. And Luvin already talked a bit about our project. So it's called EVIST, Ecovillages as Incubators for Sustainability Transitions. And what we're trying to do is to answer the questions how ecovillages diffuse their sustainable practices and ideas in different world regions. So the aim of the project is, in the end, to provide knowledge about successful strategies for the local dissemination of ecovillage sustainable innovations by ecovillages. Now I will start sharing my screen and jump into the, jump into the presentation as soon as I manage. So we have the analysis that we will present is based on 130 valid responses by Ecovillages worldwide and were registered with GEN International in May 2023. And just to let you know, I mean, it is the biggest global survey, but as you heard, it's 130 valid answers. So we need to be careful to really generalize to all Ecovillages worldwide. So what we can do is talk about these 130 or probably a majority of Ecovillages, but not that all Ecovillages do this. So as you can see here, 73 valid answers were from the global south, global north, and 57 answers were from the global south. Then concerning the countries that we included, as you can see, we have included several countries from the global north and the global south. And from Asia, it was Ecovillages from Nepal, India, Indonesia, China, and Thailand. And from Oceania, it was from Australia and New Zealand. And we were particularly impressed by the response rate of Nepali cases because it's 7 answered the survey from 16 contacted initiatives, meaning that it's a response rate of 54%, while 1 answer was invalid, actually, and we couldn't include it. So what we were also interested in was a bit of characteristics of Ecovillages. So for example, the types of Ecovillages. So how are Ecovillages organized? And as you can see here, most of Ecovillages in the global south, as well as in the global north, are intentional communities, meaning communities already created with the intention of being a sustainable community. And in the global south, as you can see, while the majority of Ecovillages are or is as well intentional sustainable communities, there is a bigger part of communities that already existed before they started to adopt Ecovillage practices and approaches, so meaning transitioning communities. Now, another point we looked at were the foci of Ecovillages. So what is really the most important thing that they're working on? And here we can also see that most of them are actually have the goal to provide an environmentally sustainable lifestyle for their members. However, when we compare global south and north communities, we can find some interesting differences. So communities in the global north tend to have a greater focus on community living and experimenting with alternative social practices. And Ecovillages in the global south, on the other hand, tend to have a greater focus on practicing regenerative agriculture, promoting economic sustainability and experimenting with alternative economic practices, and also creating outreach projects. Now let's turn to some comparisons between the Ecovillages and the regions where they're located in. So we can find similar patterns between Ecovillages of the global north and south. And at the same time, there are also some interesting differences identifiable. So in both cases, the majority of Ecovillage members have either the same or a higher educational level than the regions. However, in the global south, there is a larger percentage of Ecovillages where the members actually have a lower level of formal education than the people outside of the Ecovillage. And moreover, in the global south, north, there is a larger percentage of cases where there is no difference in levels of formal education between the Ecovillage and the people outside of the Ecovillage. Now we were also looking at the income level of Ecovillages and the regions and compared them to each other. And here we can see that in the global north, Ecovillages tend to have the same or lower levels of income when compared to other people from their regions. In the global south, Ecovillages tend to have the same or higher levels of income when compared to other people from their regions. And a possible explanation for this is that rural areas where Ecovillages most often are located tend to be relatively poorer in the global south, and meaning that a move to an Ecovillage typically means a reduction of income of the new Ecovillage member, both in the global north and the global south. But in the global south, rural populations tend to be poorer, and as such, the Ecovillages members that often have a more middle-class urban background still have a relatively higher income than the people outside of the Ecovillages. And in the global north, rural areas typically are not poorer than urban areas. So the reduction of income for Ecovillages members does result in relatively lower income for Ecovillage members compared to the people outside of the Ecovillage. Then we also asked Ecovillages about their perception of the extent to what extent they have modified the way people in their region address environmental, economic, social, or cultural topics. And they had the possibility to answer this on a scale of 1 to 6. And it is very interesting to see the differences in the perceived influences of ecovillages in the global north and in the global south, respectively. So while 32% of ecovillages in the global north think that they had a high influence in their regions, 61% of ecovillages in the global south did so. And these results suggest that ecovillages in the global south perceive a greater impact in their regions. We also asked ecovillages about their perception of the economic impact on their regions, and here they had the possibility to answer on a scale of 1 to 4. And here we can see that while 30% of ecovillages in the global north perceived a high economic impact in their region, 53% of ecovillages in the global south did so. And when you look at the darker parts of the bars, you can see this is like where the ecovillages that answered that they had a very high impact. And here we can see a big difference. So in the global north, 8% of ecovillages perceived a very high economic influence in the region, while it was 28% of ecovillages in the global south. And these results indicate to a certain extent that ecovillages in the global south may play a more important role in their regions, especially considering that they are mostly located in rural areas, so where governmental policies and systems of provision are more difficult to reach. Now, coming from these more characteristical aspects of ecovillages to how we actually measure the impact of ecovillages. So we used a particular understanding of diffusion, which includes 5 dynamics: expansion, reframing, circulation of knowledge, shifting material arrangements, and replication. And I will now turn to each of these dynamics, explain what the dynamic is, and give you just after that the most important results from the survey, so directly after explaining the dynamic. So the first dynamic is called expansion, and expansion describes relationships between members of ecovillages and external actors. And these relationships, through these relationships, ecovillages become immersed in the local networks. And the ecovillage therefore goes beyond its original scope and creates, for an example, long and short-term projects, one-time events, or common participation in local councils together with actors from the region. Now in the survey, we could find that ecovillages in the global south have collaborated with a greater diversity of actors from their regions compared to the ecovillages in the global north. And in both cases, ecovillages tend to collaborate a lot with educational institutions and other civil society organizations. But in the global south, we found that the ecovillages tend to collaborate more with communities and groups that have been marginalized. So for an example, people living in poor housing conditions, homeless people, agricultural smallholders, and indigenous and traditional people. So these collaborations are carried out by 70% of ecovillages in the global south, while it's been done by 30% of ecovillages in the global north. Then the next dynamic is reframing, and reframing focuses on the cultural impact of ecovillages in wider society. So what gets diffused are new perspectives and understanding. And reframing can, for an example, occur as activities to raise awareness, diffusing ideas via blogs, social media, radio, or also in mainstream media, and also participation in protests and political activisms. In the survey, a high number of ecovillages globally have engaged in awareness-raising activities, so that was 82%, in offering guided tours of the ecovillage, in promoting cultural events open to people from the region, and in spreading new ideas and understandings through the publication of articles, blogs, radio, and other forms of communication. And here we just can see a smaller difference in Global South and Global North ecovillages concerning the participation in protests and or political activism. So Global North ecovillages tend to be more involved in this kind of reframing than in the Global South. Then the next dynamic is this knowledge. And here the circulation is about the spreading of practical or generalized and scientific knowledge. And it focuses on the knowledge production by, but also about ecovillages that may influence and become normal in wider society. And it can, for example, take the form of courses, seminars, workshops, but also manuals and instructional videos, or the appearance in governmental reports. Regarding this dynamics, our survey found that most ecovillages in the North and South organize training courses, seminars, and workshops for people in the region, and offer volunteering opportunities also for people in the regions. But then when comparing the two regions, we can see that ecovillages in the South tend to be more engaged in organizing courses for people in the region than ecovillages in the North. And they also tend to engage more in spreading knowledge via manuals or instructional videos than ecovillages in the Global North. But on the other hand, we can also see that ecovillages in the Global North tend to be more engaged with academic research and teaching than ecovillages in the Global South. Next dynamic is shifting material arrangements, and this refers to the physical and economic impact of ecovillages on wider society. So then the creation of physical structures and objects, such as, for example, buildings or streets, but also through the transformation of the natural environment, or through economic impact, such as tourism or job creation. And here we found that that there are important differences between Global South and Global North ecovillages. So ecovillages in the South tend to engage more in conservation and regeneration projects outside the ecovillage compared to ecovillages in the North. And they also tend to engage more in activities to support infrastructure improvement in local communities outside the ecovillage. And on the other hand, ecovillages in the North tend to create more infrastructure within the ecovillages that are accessible to people from the region than ecovillages from the North, from the South. So these, for an example, are shops, schools, and other physical infrastructures within the ecovillage. Now, concerning the last dynamic of diffusion, that's replication. And replication focuses on how ecovillage practices are reproduced in different contexts. It can show, for example, that practices or technologies are diffused or spread and it can also refer to a complex of practices, such as the frame, the ecovillage frame that was adopted by people from the region. Concerning this dynamic, the majority of ecovillages globally reported actually on having inspired or supported the creation of other ecovillages. So around half of the ecovillages have inspired replication indirectly, meaning through former members that became part of the creation of new ecovillages. And when analyzing the replication of specific practices, the majority of ecovillages in the Global South are aware of people or organizations in their regions who have adopted practices or technologies learned from them. And in the Global North, it's more or less half of the ecovillages report such a replication dynamics. And now I will hand over to Lasse to talk about the indices we used.
Thank you very much, Nadine. So in order then basically to compare the extent, that is to say like the scope, the broadness, the width of the diffusion activities of these eco-villages, we constructed an index that basically combined these five different diffusion mechanisms. That the ones that Nadine previously talked about. And we call this like the extent of diffusion index, or like the scope of diffusion index. And so this value basically shows through how many different forms. So yeah, how broadly, through how many different ways, different forms, reframing, maybe engaging with different partners, maybe shifting material, changing material things in the region, to how broadly the Ecovillage engages in such activities. Maybe to quickly explain, like an index value is always a value between 0 and 1. And here 0 would indicate the lowest possible score. So all the questions that we included, they would have scored 0 points. And 1 would that they, for each question that we included in the index, they would have achieved the maximum amount of points score. And then if we look at the results, we see that there is a small difference. I zoomed in a little bit to enlarge the difference to make it a bit better visible. But you see that like in the global north, they basically or almost have a value on average of 0.47, whereas in the global south there is a value of 0.51. Although this is like a small difference, it's interesting that based on the statistical tests that we conducted, this is like a significant difference. This basically means that the given difference are not there by chance, but that there is a lower than 5% chance that this difference based on our data is there by chance. To say this, basically another way to say that it is a real difference. It's a slow but real difference, to put it in simply terms. Then we also looked at the intensity of diffusion. So on the one hand, we created before this extent, so through how many different ways and they diffuse their practices and ideas. And here we look like at how intensively they do this. And here we took into account basically 3 components. One is the amount of hours they spent on these collaborations. 2, the amount of external partners they collaborate with. And last, the importance of collaborations to the Ecovillage. In our operationalization, we thought as these 3 components combined could say something about how intensively an Ecovillage is diffusing its activities. And again, here we see a similar pattern as before. We see again that the global south has a higher score, almost 0.45, and the global north a little lower than 0.35. And again, it's a similar pattern. It's like a small difference, but based on the statistical test you conducted, it is a statistically significant difference. Right. Then let's move on to the final one. This is like the overall diffusion index. This is basically a combination of the previous 2. So not surprisingly, it shows again a similar pattern. Here we see again that the similar pattern. The global south has a higher score. Ecovillages on average score higher, and in the global north they score lower. Again, it's not a huge difference. Again, it zoomed in a little bit, 0.4 versus 0.48. But again, this is a statistically significant difference. So these are basically the main findings that based on our data, based on the ecovillages that filled in our survey, that answered our survey. It's actually the ecovillages in the global south that diffuse their practices and ideas more than those eco-villages in the global north, not by a large extent, but by a significantly, statistically significant extent. These were basically the main results of the survey. We look very much forward to your feedback and questions. And you can also always reach us on the following email addresses. If I'm correct, now we move on to the breakout groups. And there we have basically 3 questions I can already shortly introduce now. So you can discuss among your breakout group, like how do you feel about the results? But also maybe interesting talk about, do they mirror your own experiences and expectations, maybe from your own communities? And finally, where do you see difference to your own work and experiences with eco-villages, maybe your own communities? So these were our 3 questions that we prepared for the breakout rooms to maybe guide a little bit the reflections among yourself about the results that we just presented. And then I think, Luvian, you were making the breakout groups. Yeah.
Just can I quickly jump in? I think it's important that people, before we go into the breakout groups, that you can ask questions about what we presented. So is there questions concerning how we did it? Is there, I don't know, probably also comments already? Is there anybody who wants to know more details, or I don't know, do you have other inputs or questions concerning what we have just presented?
Can I ask, like I remember in the beginning when you were talking about how the valid responses, and can I ask how many people were asked? And then, you know, like we had the 73 from the global north and 57 from the global south answering.
I didn't understand that well. So the first question is like how many responses we had all in all, like not also including the invalid responses?
Yes.
Yeah, so that was, I think, around 530 actually. And then we excluded some of them because they did not match the criteria that we had. Like, for example, we wanted initiatives to have 8 members living at the same place, or at least 8 members living at the same place for at least 2 years. These were some criteria that we had. And then others, probably some were also doubled, for an example, that we had 2 people answering from the same eco-village, and others were not included in the GEN international database. So they got the link from a friend from another eco-village and answered the survey. But because they were not included in our initial database, we could not include these answers, which was a pity, but yeah, in the end, it's like that. And the second question, I did not understand that one, sorry.
No, that was just this question, thank you.
Okay, you're very welcome. And probably also to mention in the exclusion process also, we were working together with people from GENOA and from Gen Africa and from Gen Europe and so on, from the regional networks. So they helped us to figure out, for example, if they already knew that one initiative that we had included because of the database does not match our criteria. So we did not contact these eco-villages in the first place because, for example, Kin told us or could help us out. Andrew, I think you were first, and then Matt.
Yeah. Nadine, I just have a question. Do you have a list of the communities that actually participated in this? I'm especially interested in the Global South. Could you share it with us?
We're not allowed to share it due to privacy issues. So we told the communities that everything is anonymous, so we cannot share the names of the communities. We're very sorry about that.
I think the real use would have been actual numbers, some figures, sizes of communities, actual incomes, you know, I'm working in a community here that's really struggles with resources, that they're really challenged. And I would like to know what other communities in the global south are also doing, and what resources they're able to master to come up with those statistics you come up with. So from my perspective, very interesting, but it's so sanitized or vanilla, I can't actually do anything with the data. And it would have been really useful to have actually had some facts, some figures, some numbers that we could use, and we could contact other communities as well. Anyhow, that's my view. I do thank you, and I found it very interesting. I'd like to have had another level of granularity.
We will take note of that, and I mean, probably there is a possibility that we could create such a call where Ecovillages, who are part of the survey, are open to share these figures and numbers and so on. So we could think about that. Thanks a lot for the input, and we'll take it with us into the team. And Matt, you also had a question.
Yeah, thanks. Really interesting to see the results so far. That was great. And my question probably relates a bit to Andrew. It's just about an idea of where, obviously there's more coming and happening, and probably stuff that's taking what you've got and being, exploring it in more detail. And I just wondered if you could kind of talk through a bit of what the next steps are for the project.
Lasse, do you want to answer this question?
About the next steps of the project? Yeah, I can. So basically, it was a 3-stage data collection project. So first we did interviews with different ecovillages around the world over Zoom, based on the results to get a better idea about how do ecovillages relate and collaborate with people from their environments. Based on these insights, we also created this 5 different diffusion dynamics, this framework, and we based our survey on that. Now we have the results of the survey, and now there is a qualitative data collection phase. So we are basically visiting different ecovillages around the world, 10 ecovillages with the research team, and staying in each of them for roughly 1 month, 6 weeks, and then get more like on the ground data and doing interviews both with different people from the ecovillages who engage in these collaborations, but also with the people outside of the ecovillage to get like both perspectives. So that's basically the phase that we are in now, in visiting these different communities. And then in the end, we still have some time to try to bring everything together, creating the scientific output, but also creating the output for the Ecovillage movement, and trying to present it in a useful and accessible way. So that's the basic setup of the project.
Okay, so I would suggest that we go just for 7 minutes or so into the breakout groups. Lewin, what do you think? And then harvest again. So welcome back. Hope that you had some interesting discussions. And we have 10 more minutes, if I'm correct, Lubien, to harvest a bit what you discussed. So just that each group can share what you talked about. And we would also be interested in if you think that there is somebody else who should be informed about the results, or like what you particularly also are or were interested in hearing. So if somebody wants to start sharing what you discussed and who else could be interesting and what was especially interested. Yes, Robin, please.
Yeah, we were a bit curious about the division into global north and global south, and perhaps if you could explain what you were trying to achieve by that, and also was there an assumption, I guess, that the global north was more kind of wealthy and westernized possibly than the global south, but then we have Australia and New Zealand in the global south, so which are more kind of westernized countries. So yeah, I guess we just really wondered why there was that division and what you were expecting to see from that, and whether the results fulfilled what you expected.
Lasse, do you want to first answer this and then I add?
Yeah, that's okay. Yeah, it's a good question. So this touches up a bit on the on the foundation of the project. So in the project, one of the things we want that we look at is like the level of environmental concern. Based on the literature, this suggests that if there's already a lot of concern about environmental issues, it would be easier for grassroots initiatives such as Ecovillage to diffuse their activities and engage in collaborations. So that is the assumption. Then, based on the affluence theory, this is a theory that says, wealthier countries, more affluent countries tend to have higher level of environmental concern. It is very important to note here that this is also due to how they operationalize it. So here they understand like level of environmental concern more as the willingness and ability to pay more for environmental policy and change behavior, which one can imagine might be easier when you're in a more wealthy place. So one of the things this study does is then basically reflecting on this theory. So based on this theory, we would suggest that in more wealthy places, it is easier because there's maybe already like a higher level of environmental concern and there are more supportive policies and structures in place. So based on this, actually, the hypothesis was that maybe ecovillages located in the global north tend to diffuse more. But as we showed, the results showed something different. Then it's the question why. One of the reasons is that what I said before, that this level of environmental concern in these affluence theories is operationalized or understood in a very specific way, and maybe doesn't say so much about actually the level of environmental concern, which is more important to determine if people start collaborating with ecovillages, and maybe also on the other hand, maybe the lack or that there are maybe less supportive structures and policies in place might encourage grassroots initiatives such as Ecovillage to take a more active role and maybe take over certain roles and of public institutions. Maybe to mention about Australia and New Zealand. So in this division between global north and global south, Australia and New Zealand are normally included in the global north. So here, global north, global south, this is not so much a geographic division, but it is more this, for example, history of colonialism, wealth, So in our division, Australia and New Zealand were also included in the global north. And Nadine, do you have anything to add, or Robin, do you have an additional question?
Probably, Robin, if you have a reaction or additional questions, then feel free, and otherwise we hand over to Kin.
Oh, I actually want to add into this point, but maybe after I pass to Robin because she's unmuted. I also was curious in this finding that you have where in the global south, so-called global south, people tend to diffuse their innovations a lot more. And I think this has also come out of assumption of myself, but I think it also has to do with like lifestyle and culture. And in countries like us, for example, we have a very social lifestyle where community activities, exchanging with neighbors are very, very important in our lifestyle. So that's kind of become very natural that if you have something interesting, if you know something good, you would tend to share it with the people around you. Yeah.
It's a very interesting comment. Yeah. Robin, do you want to add something?
Yeah. No, thanks for that explanation. And I think it's what Kin just said shows that there's so much complexity around this, isn't there? And the cultural aspect is really important to explain perhaps some of those results. Yeah, but thank you.
Thanks a lot, Robin. And Mikesh, you have a question or a comment?
Yeah, well, just from what we shared in our group, we talked about that global south and global north division, but at least I had time and I wanted to ask everybody else, but we didn't have time. Whether it was in line with our experiences of our ecovillages or visiting other ecovillages or whatever. And I agree with Kin, yeah, in my experience of visiting ecovillages, that in the global north and the global south, like in the global north, a lot more communities tend to be actually like, seen as the rest of the society as these weird hippies doing a weird thing. And I see that actually less in the global south, than where people are living, lifestyles that are closer to eco-villages almost naturally, especially in ones, countries that are more agricultural or already living in some form of community. It's a little bit less of a jump than in the global north, where we're not really living that way at all in our society. So yeah, the research findings was actually very much in line with what I would have expected. So it's great to have the data. Yeah.
Thanks a lot for adding to that. Yeah, that's very interesting. Any other comments or what you've discussed? Probably also the question, if you think the results should be shared with somebody else, or like, do you see anybody in your countries, in your region, who could be interested in that, or that you could use the results for something? Because we're also thinking about how can we give the results back to the eco-villages. In what form could it be useful to you? Probably, I don't know, to approach collaboration partners or other actors in your region. And if there is nothing else you want to share, then I think we're perfectly in time to wrap up the session with Lilian.
Tanya has her hand up.
Tanya has a hand up. Tanya.
I just thank you. I'm very sorry I missed it. I'm discombobulated with time. Oh, I thought that I put a message in there saying, yeah, last year, Narara, in collaboration with EVIST, presented at the National Sustainability Living Festival, which is in February. And sorry, my internet's unstable. I'm wondering that based on what you've presented, we could do something like that and perhaps do some additions around the recent completion of the Gen Resilience Project and how Narara and Earthsong have represented in the
Well, she's gone now. We'll reach out to her and let her know what we think of that. Okay. So yeah, then I guess from our side, we thank you a lot for sharing, for being here, for being interested in the research. It's really great to actually talk to people who were involved in the research and who probably can use these results later on. So thanks a lot for being here. And I hand over to Lubien to wrap up.
Yay, thank you, Nadine and Les, for sharing the findings of the survey. So it's really nice and fresh to hear the harvest of a project of a research that has been going on for a while now. In the beginning of the year, and I feel like the sharing that you shared today about comparing the global north and global south countries is simply a doorway of more information and more insights to the impact of eco-villages in the world, right? And this is, as I remember correctly, correct me if I'm wrong, this is not the conclusion of the EVIST project. There will be more research and information that will be synthesized from the ecovillages that participate, and also there will be probably more sharing sessions and more insights about the impact of ecovillages too, especially in the diffusion of sustainable practices. So be sure to look forward to that, everyone. And yeah, thank you so much again, Nadine and Lasse, for sharing today with our community. And maybe we can give like this a little bit of energy to them for doing all of the research and compiling and analyzing and presenting to us. And give energy for them to continue getting more insights and yeah, and sharing it to the world. Yeah, so to wrap up, I'd just like to share this session. We can go around again to share anything that you find interesting. Anything that, how do you feel now after the session? Or anything that you find interesting or anything that you look forward to in the beginning, towards the future. So I think we have 17 people, so maybe I can just call people one by one instead of passing in, because we might lose track of people who've done it and not. So yeah, let's start to hear from Vicky. Are you there, Vicky? Can we hear from you?
Yes, hello, but I'm not sure what I should say. I'm sorry.
Yeah, you can just share about how you either anything you feel, what you find interesting, or what you look forward to.
I really like the structure of the presentation, and I'm happy to see all the events and that are going to happen in the future. And I'm actually new in these circles, so I'm looking for opportunities to join any projects and any eco-villages where I can make the world a better place a bit. So that's why I'm here. So if anyone would like to contact me about anywhere where I can help you guys, then feel free to message me. And thank you so much for today. It was very interesting to learn more about you. Thank you.
Thank you, Vicky. You're always welcome to check out our community and follow our newsletters and check out the GENOA website too. So yeah, you can get connected with us, definitely. Thank you. And friends of Ecovillages, over to you. Can we hear from you? Okay, maybe Indy Rishi from USA. Indy Rishi, are you there? Okay, signal low. So over to Konkanko. So maybe you can just share through the chat, Indy Rishi. So over to you, Konkanko.
Yeah, I find interesting because I've always been curious about the difference between eco-villages in the north, which are intentional, and eco-villages in Africa, which tend to just be villages that have been existing for a long time and just looking for modern methods of improving and becoming a little modern. So yeah, this sharing has been very enriching, because the tendency is now that eco-villages are a global ecosystem and not necessarily obeying north-south. And I'm just curious to see how we weave these partnerships in this new understanding.
Okay, yeah, thank you for that. So over now to Mikesh.
Thank you, Luvian, and thank you, Lasse and Nadina, for coming and sharing great research and really helpful. It's great to see, yeah, more data behind eco-villages and so many respondents. It's really wonderful to see, and yeah, lots of more areas of research as looking forward to see in the future. So yeah, thank you for organizing this and coming and sharing the research.
Okay, thank you, Mikesh. And Nipan, I'm not sure how to pronounce your name, but are you there? Okay, Pankaj.
Hi, hello everyone. So in my case, I joined the session a little late, so I guess I missed a major part of it. But as far as I'm concerned, like I'm trying to build a eco-village in central India, in the state of Madhya Pradesh. So that's what I'm looking to sort of learn for, and also like through my own project, want to contribute to this whole movement of eco-villages.
Great, thank you, Pankaj. Over to
Yep.
Rina.
Yeah, I think I said the word gratitude when we started our session, and I think that's still the same word that I have, as we close, and especially knowing that there's Pierre just not so far from me, so I hope to meet him in person soon. It's really, because and I'm also very thankful to have this friendship with Luvian and Kin, and I just realized we've been Zooming for the past 2 or 3 years already, and so I live on a farm, but I can't really say I want to see, I want to be more intentional now in seeing how my life here on the farm is already somehow demonstrated with the, I'd like to know more about what the Ecovillages are. So if Pierre might be doing something, I'd like to see how my life already somehow fits into the Ecovillage, the GENOA community.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Rina. Always happy to have your presence. We go to Robin. Robin Anderson. You're muted. Robin?
Oh,
Yes.
sorry.
Right.
The whole thing closed down and it's only just popped up again. Yes, thank you. It's really lovely to meet everybody. I'm still a bit kind of confused in my head about the global north and south thing now. So now I'm wondering, well, who's actually in the north, who's been counted in the south? So and I was quite liking being counted as part of the south, and yeah. But anyway, I think this whole topic, it really, well, the aspect of diffusion and how eco-villages can have a greater influence in our wider areas is very relevant for us at Earthsong at the moment, and we're doing a lot of thinking about how we can be more effective in welcoming more people in, and taking more, offering more out, I guess. So so thank you for the research, and yep, very interesting. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Robin. Over to you, Chang.
I also came late, but happy to still be able to join and hear some perspective from Indy in the regular group. Thank you.
Thanks. And Tanya.
Well, congratulations on, and I'm excited at the prospect, and I think that this National Living Festival will be great. So I will follow up with you, Nadine, on that. Yeah, I think there's a lot of places that we could be using this as a platform, and certainly the all the ambassadors, the Gen ambassadors, could be coached on how to use this and start to be doing talks similar to the way that Al Gore's group used to do, you know, that they formed an incredible core of ambassadors that have regular conversations. That's just my vision. It's big.
Thank you, Tanya. Very nice vision. And yeah, just Sayong in the chat mentioned that it was very interesting to hear about the research. And I know one person in Korea also researching about next-gen, how the community works with the world, society, just make it and at the university. I can imagine after I share about today to her, and she will be inspired by you guys. I'm sending greetings for your work and hope to hearing more. Thank you. Yeah, it's definitely one of the things to see, connecting Ecovillages researchers with one another. And yeah, now to Kin. You want to say, check out?
Sure, yeah. I am generally very interested in researches about ecovillages, and I'm very happy that there are more and more people bringing the presence of ecovillage into the academic world, and you've taken an interest. And thank you so much, Nadine and Laras, for all of your work on the project, but also your work on the presentation and sharing it with us. I really hope that this project will continue to be fruitful, as well as the resilience project in Gen that is going on, where Robin and Tanya is a part of, will produce more and more resources that we can share with the network. That's me.
Thank you, Kim. Yeah. And Lasse.
Yeah, thank you very much. It was a great opportunity to be able to share our work. I'm very happy that it sounded like it was somehow interesting and useful to you. Also heard some great feedback and additional points to think about, especially maybe this point of like culture maybe are more similar, and therefore maybe the diffusion is higher. I thought it was also very interesting. Thank you very much for hosting. And that's very great, and I would be happy that maybe when we finish the next phase of the project, we can do a similar thing about the new data. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And Nadine?
Yes, thanks a lot. I said everything, so just thank you again for co-organizing the event. It's a great opportunity to share and to bring the results out of the academic sphere, which is very important. That's the approach of our project. So thanks again, and everybody who is still here, don't hesitate to reach out if you're interested in more details, if you want to co-organize an event with us, or I don't know if you know researchers who could be interested to connect with us. Just let them know and spread the word. And thanks a lot for being here.
Thank you. And my checkout will be that I'm very happy with this call today. It's the first call of the year, and we're starting with the very, I would say, a call that I think this is the first ever academic sharing of an academic research sharing in GENOA Circle. So it's very fresh and yeah, it's very interesting insight. And I hope to have more of this kind of calls and more research going on about ecovillages, especially in our region, and of course collaboration between researchers within our region, so that ecovillages can get also more exposure in different settings. So yeah, thank you all so much for being here, and I look forward to see you all again in our next upcoming calls of the year. Thank you so much. See ya.
Thank you.